What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 79 of the Bros Talking Soccer podcast. My name is Dave Knittel, here as always with my brothers Christian and Matt to discuss stories from around the soccer world. Special guest this week, Bryan Hernandez, coming to us from Pasadena, California. Bryan, how's it going today?
Hi, sorry, it's actually from Boyle Heights.
Where's that?
Boyle Heights, California.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Near Pasadena?
Yeah, near Pasadena.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. So sorry about that. Luckily, only YouTubers will see this because we'll do another intro for YouTube or for the podcast. So glad we got that out of the way. Christian and Matt, say hello.
Hello. All right.
All right. All right. We good to get the podcast started now?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Anyone who's watching on YouTube, feel free to interact with us as we go along. We have the chat function up, so if you have thoughts on anything we're talking about or just other things you want us to talk about, feel free to let us know, and we'd love to address that. All right, with that, let's get this thing going. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 79 of the Bros Talking Soccer podcast. My name is Dave Knittel, and I am here with my brothers Christian and Matt to discuss stories from around the soccer world. We have a special guest, Bryan Hernandez, with us today. Bryan, how's it going today?
Yeah, how's it going?
Yeah,
I'm doing good.
All right, good to hear. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, I'm a freelancer right now at Pasadena City College. I've been writing a few articles on medium.com, so just a little about me. I played soccer for about 5 years as a goalkeeper. I committed some stuff just like curious, so I know how it feels. And that's about it for now.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely talk about that a little bit later, and we'll talk about I know you're a PSG fan, so we're going to talk about that a little bit later, and we will link to Bryan's Medium articles in our show notes, so be sure to go check that out and follow him on social media. We'll link to that as well. Bryan, what your Twitter's like @official?
Official Hernandez without the vowels.
Okay, all right, so we'll link to that as well, so be sure to go check him out. Christian, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, Dave. It was a tough one yesterday.
Yeah.
Or 2 days ago, whenever it was. I'm trying to just not remember it.
Okay. For those who don't know, Christian is a Liverpool fan and is still recovering from that. Matt, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Dave. Thanks for asking. I'm home for the weekend, so I'm excited to be home and not at State College.
Not at State College by yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm home for the rest of my life.
Yep. Yes, you are. All right, guys, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. It's been great weather out here. It rained the other day, which was really odd because it doesn't really rain this time of year. But this weekend's been fantastic weather and just been enjoying things. Watched a couple movies, so it's been a good weekend. Before we get into our topics, let me give a quick plug to StadiumScene.tv. So we are partners with Stadium Scene. They're a travel blog for sports fans. So if you're going to a game in the United States, you want to check out StadiumScene.tv to check out where to park, what bars and restaurants to go to before and after the game, and so on and so forth. In addition to those things, they also partner with content creators like us to offer all different kinds of sports content. Not just specific to soccer. They got all different kinds of things, podcasts, YouTube videos, blog posts, and so much more. So be sure to go check them out at stadiumscene.tv. Now let's get into our topics for this week. First up, speaking of the Champions League final that we talked about.
This week, or
what's that?
Not doing trivia then?
Oh, shit. Sorry, Christian. Christian, do you have a trivia question for us this week?
I do have a trivia question. Thank you, Dave. It was really nice of you to ask. I got it ready and everything. So,
wow.
Do you guys know the first African team to win a World Cup game and who they were playing, what the score was, and what year it was?
All right. So we will think on that and give our guesses at the end. Listeners, you will as well. And with that, Christian, thank you so much for being on top of things. I was not this week.
Rough start, Dave. Rough start.
Yes, rough start. But we're going to recover. It's all about bouncing back, and that's what podcasting is all about. So with that, let's talk about the Champions League final now. So for those who may not know, Real Madrid beat Liverpool 3-1 in the final of that tournament. Bryan, wanted to get your thoughts first off, just overall, what were your thoughts on how the game went?
Liverpool were just unlucky. Where it all mattered, in this case, they were just unlucky. Everything went astray for them. It was just for me, as a PSG fan, seeing them lose to Madrid, I feel their pain, and just I don't know.
Okay. All right. So we'll talk about some more specific points, but Christian wanted to get your just general thoughts on the game. Try to keep yourself together.
I don't understand. And Karius was like that. I understand goalkeepers have bad days, but that was just dreadful. In the whole of the game, until Salah went off, I thought Liverpool were in control of the game. And once he went off, obviously their whole game plan exploded. But
Yeah.
what? Like, I swear that Madrid had no real blatant opportunities other than the Karius blunders and the ridiculous bicycle kick out of. It's so unlucky. Madrid are not playing that great, and they just win games. It drives me nuts.
I mean, Isco missed the tap in.
What happened?
He hit the crossbar.
It wasn't a tap in.
Yeah.
But, like, he tried to chip him. He could have easily just slotted it in.
Yeah.
Matt, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was unfortunate with Salah going off. But then after that, Madrid probably looked like they deserved the win. I mean, the bounces kind of did go their way, but you kind of expect that with Madrid. They just win. That's what they do. So after Salah went off, I kind of knew it was over, unfortunately. But I think Liverpool played well up until that point. Like Christian was saying, I think it was pretty even up until Salah went off. And then after that, like when their best player goes off, and then like everyone feels kind of deflated. It was kind of easy for Madrid after that.
I'll agree with that. So, Brian, what were your thoughts on the Salah injury? You know, obviously it's a big talking point. Do you think there was anything malicious there from Sergio Ramos? Do you think Ian tried to hurt him, or what do you think?
Sergio Ramos is known to be a dirty player. I had a friend tell me, well, it's part of the game, you know, it's rough and this and that, but part of the game is not where you go and injure someone on purpose. And I think Sergio Ramos has learned all of this, starting with Mourinho and then with Pepe, his old center back partner. Well, I did a review on it, and then I link Pepe and his game against Getafe, where he kicks the guy like twice and stomps someone.
Oh yeah, I remember that highlight.
I mean, Ramos is not a guy who's gonna show his aggression. He's gonna be mischievous, and I think he kind of did it on purpose. If you analyze his foul, it looks like he did a little jiu-jitsu move and then he took him down.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. All right. So for you, thought it was intentional, Christian?
Yeah.
The way that he was smiling when Salah was coming off the field crying.
That was that wasn't a real photo.
He was smiling for sure on the field.
That wasn't a real photo. So the photo you're talking about.
There was plenty of stuff. You saw it.
There's a video
back, and he is like out there like laughing a little bit. Yeah, he went up and apologized, but I know the video was shot like him smiling like that, but he was not like upset. To me, he is notorious for being dirty and trying to injure people. He gets red carded all the time, and there is no reason for when he's falling to drag somebody down with you. And I know it happens all the time, but the way he's holding his arm, he made sure Salah could not brace himself for when they was falling. He made sure that the way he fell was going to be on his shoulder with all of his weight.
Matt, thoughts? Oh, sorry.
Well, I think it was a dirty play for sure, but I don't think it was anything you could red card.
I'm not saying it was.
That's what I'm saying, but I think worst case scenario, he would have gotten a yellow because he did bring him down by the arm. I don't know if he knows how to injure somebody's shoulder like that. I don't think he's a trained professional in tackling people's shoulders.
I mean, he seems like a trained professional with his track record.
He hasn't. I mean, it's not like he injures people all the time.
He attempts to.
Yeah, I'm just saying it was unfortunate and it was dirty. He probably should have gotten a card, but I don't think it was anything somebody punching somebody in the face or purposely going studs up behind the play and hitting somebody in the knee.
Speaking of punching people in the back of the head, how about that game yesterday?
Yeah, the Columbus Sporting KC game was pretty crazy. We can talk about that a little bit later. But sticking on the Sergio Ramos thing, for me, I think plays like that happen all the time. And as a defender, you don't want your guy to run by you. And so if Sergio Ramos is falling, I think tons of times you'll see players drag down the player with them. I mean, it's really unfortunate that Salah got hurt. And yeah, it's a physical play and it might be a little dark artsy, but I don't think he was trying to injure him, and I don't even think it was that dirty. I think at the highest level, you do little things, whether it's grabbing jerseys or whether it's these little moves to make sure you get the advantage. And so for me, it wasn't a dirty play. It felt really bad, obviously, for Salah. But what do you think of the Lallana sub for Salah? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that specifically, because I think that really altered the way that Liverpool played, and they basically switched to a 4-4-2. I know a lot of the announcers were saying they stuck with a 4-3-3, but there were a lot of tactical things that changed once Lallana came on, and him going to the wing was really odd because he's not really a wing player, and I know that they were strapped for options, but I don't know, Brian, do you have any thoughts on the Lallana sub?
Yeah, they didn't have no choice but to put him, I believe. Emre Can was another choice, but he was coming back from an injury. So to me, yeah, they had no choice. But I feel as if Lallana should have came in and and said like, I'm doing this for Salah, I'm doing this for the team. But I don't think he gave anything to Liverpool. It was just a tactical sub because of the injury.
Yeah, and I think it was a tough position to put him in. Christian, any thoughts on the Lallana sub?
Big Liverpool fans are calling for Lallana's head more than they are for Karius's. They're really upset with his performance yesterday, and I think that's really unfair. He was out all year injured, and I mean, I was really upset with Karius, but I've calmed down, and like you realize after the fact that okay, people make mistakes, it's fine, but you get really mad and hyped up in the moment. Lallana, I felt like did absolutely nothing the entire game, but I didn't expect anything from him either because he hasn't played all year long. That he didn't make England squad. He's not like that star player that Salah's going to be. He's not going to have that impact. But I felt that it was weird the way they played once he came on the field. He didn't really know where to be positionally, I saw, and it hurt Liverpool big time because the wide play from Madrid, they had so much time on the ball. They completely dominated in that aspect of the game because the width was dead once Salah went off the field. And then Liverpool couldn't touch the ball. When they did, they were tired. I just don't know what other options they had to put on. What are they going to throw Solanke on and put Firmino wide? That is an option, but Ox is out until next year.
He's out? Oh.
Yeah, Ox has been injured since like early April. He got hurt against Roma in the first leg.
Oh, yeah.
They clearly missed him as well. It was very blatant. They had no creativity. And Lallana is their creative force through the midfield, honestly, but he's been out for so long. They missed Coutinho. They missed Oxlade-Chamberlain. They missed a lot of that creativity in midfield. They had too much industry, and that really punished them.
Yeah, and I mean, they were basically playing with 4 center midfielders, and I just think putting Lallana at left wing is a tough, or left mid, because they ended up dropping him back a bit. But yeah, I guess the only other option was really Solanke there. Matt, thoughts on Lallana coming on?
Yeah, so when I first saw him coming on, I was like, okay, like he's a crafty player. I was watching with my friends. I was like, hey, he's crafty. There's something he could maybe like have one moment of brilliance, and then he came on in his first pass. He could have started a break. I forget who was running down the right wing, and they were wide open on a break.
Mane.
And he just like passed it right to Ramos, I think.
Yeah.
I was like, it's gonna be a long game for him. Like another thing with that was like I've never seen a team close out shots like Real Madrid did against Liverpool. They literally gave them no options to shoot. Like it was crazy how many blocks I saw them have, and like how quickly they just closed down the space. That was the one thing like I was just like completely amazed by their defense.
Well, in fairness, I think Liverpool did that too, to an extent, and I think it's a Champions League final, so you just have more commitment from players. But that's a good, interesting point. So, last thing we wanted to talk about here is obviously got to talk about the Karius mistakes. I know, Brian, you said you used to be a keeper. What were your thoughts on obviously the Karius blunders?
So the first goal. It's basic stuff where you know it's offsides, right? So Liverpool know it's offside, but the thing is once you get the ball and the opposition does not get it, it's a new play. And so what Karius did, he was like, hey, it's offside, but he plays the ball. And Benzema, it's just he was smart, and that's his second easy goal he had scored in these playoffs. And the other one was last week against Bayern.
Mm-hmm.
With Tuchel, with what's his name?
Heinkes?
Ulrich.
Yeah, Ulrich's the goalie.
Yeah, where he messed up and then Benzema just tapped it in. Same thing happened here, but Karius, instead of passing it to the left side where what's his name, Robertson was pretty much wide open. He even said, "Hey, I'm here." He didn't pass it to him. I don't know. And this was it. The third goal. That's a simple keeper save. What you do there is you either punch it out or you jump up, tuck in your stomach a little bit in, and you grab the ball like this.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what he did there.
All right, Christian. Oh, sorry. Continue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Just lastly, like I said before, you feel pity for him, but he's a professional, and this is a final. Everyone already, in the English Premier League, he already has pressure because he's always getting linked with other goalkeepers, as in that they're going to replace him. But he has to show up, and this, I just don't know. It was sad. It was sad to see that.
Yeah, you kind of feel for him. Christian, I know immediately after the game you had some strong words, but now that you've had time to settle, what were your thoughts on the couple mistakes?
I think that Gerrard said it best. He said he feels really bad. He's a great goalkeeper, but his career at Liverpool is over. It is. Like, you can't rebound from that. Like, I know the Liverpool fans will get over it. They're going to be upset for a while. Half the people won't get over it, but it's fine, whatever. People won't ever get over Moreno's appearance against Sevilla 2 years ago either. But I think people make mistakes, but at this level in professional soccer, you just can't. You can't do that, and people won't forget. And he needs to find something new, in my opinion, or he'll always be bogged down by that, regardless of how he responds. Peter Crouch, did you see his tweet?
No.
He deleted it, but he tweeted out after Karius let that third goal in. All he said was Reina. That was
man.
And Twitter lost its mind, but you can't really forgive what he did. Like, I've played goalkeeper a bunch of times, and it's tough. Like it is. Like, if you make a mistake, it's worse than any other position on the field.
Yeah.
It is. That's just what it is. And you sign up for that at this level when everyone in the world is watching you. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, but you have to make the easy things. And that first goal, I don't understand. I literally will never understand. I think he was asking the ref that he was in his zone, but when you're rolling a ball, there is no zone to protect you. It's not like you were punting it and he took the ball away. You were rolling the ball out right to him. Why he didn't throw the ball overhand to Trent Alexander-Arnold or roll it to Robertson on the other side, I'll never know. It almost looked like he wanted that to happen. I honestly don't know what he was thinking. But
it's so weird.
The third goal is inexcusable for any goalkeeper at any level. I know Bale has a strong shot. I know it's 30 yards out. It didn't really move that much. But
it moved.
Yeah, it didn't move that much.
It's knuckly.
It hit him right here.
Yeah,
it was like in front of his face and chest. It's like, no, you can't. There's no.
See the slow motion. You see like this 3 fingers just bend like this.
Yeah. It's just you can't do that, and I feel bad for him. I know he's going to go through a lot of tough times. I felt really bad watching the replays when nobody came to console him at the end of the day. That was really sad. The only player that did was the other team and the coaching staff, but none of his players went up to talk to him, and that was really sad. But I like the way that the Liverpool fans responded. They all applauded him when he went over to apologize at the end of the game, and I expect nothing less from excellent fans like that.
Okay. Matt, your thoughts on the mistakes?
Yeah, so I feel like it's bad because he made 2. I feel like you can always kind of make up. You kind of sympathize with one mistake, but 2 huge mistakes like that, I feel it's just going to be like, that kind of like ruined his legacy, like Christian said. Like, I feel like if you make 2 huge mistakes in the Champions League final after like kind of like the last couple of years Liverpool went through, that's going to be tough to kind of make it up to the fans. So for the first goal, that was completely legal. Are we
yes.
in agreement?
Yeah, it is.
Agreement with that? Okay. I was with a couple people and they were trying to say how it was illegal because you didn't give the goalie enough space, but
you don't have to.
Yeah,
unless it's a punt, you don't have to.
Yeah. Okay. So as long as we're in agreement with that, that was just unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. That was a lot of unfortunate.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate. And then like with the second goal, obviously it's gonna go down as one of the best Champions League goals ever, one of the best goals ever. Can't really blame him for that.
It's no Zlatan, but it's still crazy.
I don't know.
What?
You're saying it like Zlatan's
Zlatan against England?
Oh.
Like 40 out.
I think this may have been more impressive. So with Zlatan, the keeper was out, and obviously
Joe Hart.
Yeah.
Plus it was Joe Hart. I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, well, keep going. But like Bale's shot, and we've said this for years. Like I don't understand why people don't take long shots like other than Bale. Bale does this literally all the time. His shots are ridiculous, and the goalies can never catch it. Like people are saying, like it's an easy save for a goalie. It's like you haven't been behind a Bale shot.
But there's no reason he doesn't have to catch it. He can push it away.
Yeah, but the shot forces him to make that decision. And so, he thinks he can catch it. So then he tries to catch it, but then, he should have punched it. And just taking those shots just puts more pressure on the keeper. I think that's what Matt's point is.
Yeah, like I remember like in one of our first podcasts, we were talking about like the percentage of shots that go in on long shots.
Yeah.
But Coutinho takes them all the time. Yeah, there are players who do.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like it just puts so much pressure on the goalies, and if somebody's rushing in, especially with a shot that far out, there's usually a striker up top that could rush in if like he's bobbling it. Like I think it just puts so much pressure on. Like I think it's like a tactic that like someone like Bale uses that like for some reason professional soccer players don't use that often.
Well, I think the reason behind that is all the stats and numbers point to you're much more successful getting a shot inside the box than outside of the box. And so the closer you are to the net, the more likely that the shot is going to go in. And so I think that's what a lot of the numbers say. And so if you're just following the numbers, that is what it is. But Matt,
mostly tactical decisions from the coach too. They probably tell you don't shoot from range, or there are a lot of people who I think aren't in the game anymore who used to do it. Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes, players like that used to take long shots a lot of the time, and we don't really see those types of midfielders, I feel like, right now.
Well, and that's getting to my point. It's the numbers don't support taking long shots. It's much more effective and efficient to take shots from inside the box. So I think they're being instructed not to shoot as much from outside the box. As analytics have gotten more into the world of soccer, I think that is influencing this. But to Matt's point, it's not just taking this shot and we get a goal. It's taking this shot, all right, it forces the defense to come out and put pressure on from 35 yards out, and then it might open up more gaps. And, there's knock-on effects from it. There's, if you take a long shot and then there's a rebound, there's other points to it that I think are somewhat lost if you're just looking at the analytical numbers of trying to get shots in the box. So, that's my thoughts there. Just wanted to, Bryan, anything else you wanted to add, takeaways from the Champions League? I know we talked a lot about Liverpool. Any thoughts on Madrid, or just anything you wanted to leave us with?
Maybe Gareth Bale's second goal. I don't know. I was having an argument, and someone's telling me that goal could have been blocked as well. That second goal.
It wasn't
by Karius or by who?
No,
by Karius.
Defender, right?
Or by Karius.
No, it could have been blocked by Karius.
Anybody who was in the way of that ball.
Oh yeah, it's true. There's like 3-4 people there. But like the way Karius' position was, I think he went too far to the left.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he when if you see the replay, I don't know, it's just that if it's him just throwing himself just to throw himself, or if he could have extended his hand, but he didn't.
Wait, so are we talking about the bicycle goal, or are we talking about the
the bicycle kick?
Oh no way, no.
I don't think he could have, just because the ball was kind of looped, so it almost functioned almost like a chip shot, and so I don't know if any keeper is saving that. I don't know. I think that might be a bit harsh on Carey.
Also going the other way, and he had to adjust his body back. So to get that would have been, only like 2 goalies may have ever even come close to that.
Yeah, I agree. He was like positioned very far to the weak side of the goal. He moved very fast, but then at that point it was tough to get back. So it was just like Buffon, who can't move to the other side of the goal in time. At this point, he probably would have saved it. He probably would have been near post still. But
That's true. That's true. Christian, anything you wanted to add as a takeaway here?
I thought Madrid played very averagely. I didn't think they were amazing, but they did what they needed to, and congratulations to them. And I thought Liverpool played pretty well as well. I think that the back line held Benzema, Isco, and Ronaldo to very little chances, and specifically the outside backs, who are very young, 24 and 18 or 19 now, that they have a really bright future, and I'm excited to see what that team can do if we get another center back to partner with Virgil.
Yeah, so actually that brings up a good point, because that's something that I wanted to highlight. So much of the narrative coming into this was how poor Liverpool's defense has been historically, or, the last few years. But literally since Van Dijk has come in, so much has been stabilized, and Liverpool really hasn't been giving up a ton of chances. You've seen Lovren really take strides forward. I thought he had a really good game, and the rest of the back line too. And so I don't think Liverpool may need to sign another center back and possibly add to the depth there, but I really like what they're doing on defense. And so I think that, these chances that went in, you lost on 2 goalkeeping mistakes and a ridiculous goal that I don't think anybody's going to save. So yeah, I do want to highlight that as well, that I thought they played well too. Matt, any thoughts, takeaways here? Last words?
I think we covered pretty much everything.
All right. So congrats to Madrid. I mean, we didn't really talk about them too much. 3 titles in a row, first team since Bayern back in the 70s. And Zizou, Zinedine Zidane, first coach ever to win 3 titles in a row, because even teams that had won 3 in a row before, it wasn't the same manager. So props to him. He's fantastic. So with that brings us to the end of our first segment. You're going to hear a little bit of music, and then we're going to talk to you very soon. All right, cool. Good job, guys. That was a good first segment.
How's Zidane's going to do when there's a transition? Because every player he has on that team has not been brought in by him. Not a single player on that team was brought in by him. I'm going to be interested to see when he has to go into the market how he does.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a credit, because he can bring in any player he wants.
And he brought in Ceballos.
Yeah, wait, what do you mean he hasn't? I mean, he's made signings.
He has none of those star players that he has are his.
Oh, the star players you're talking about.
Yeah, but I feel like that's great that he didn't have to go spend money, where Real Madrid, he could have torn that team.
I know,
apart.
But when that is a ridiculous team that's put together, when it is transitioning, I don't know how he's going to do. We've never seen anything like that before.
Bax and keep getting on the podcast.
That's not during the podcast.
Yeah.
Wait for them to come down.
Oh my God.
All right, what's going on there?
Someone's probably here.
Okay.
It's incredible. He's never not won the Champions League as a manager.
Yeah, it's insane. All right. Cool. How you feeling, Brian? Everything good? Any questions? I think you're doing good.
I'm doing okay. I don't want to slur.
No. No, you're doing great. Cool. So once Christian gets back, then we'll jump into how to improve soccer in the U.S. So I'm going to go to you first, Brian, just because I know it's a topic you wanted to talk about, and maybe you can kind of steer the conversation. I don't know if you wanted to talk youth, professional. Do you want me to frame up the question in any way, or do you just want me to kind of give you the floor?
Maybe a mix of about the MLS and how they have people come up from their system.
Okay.
Differently from Europe. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Definitely. All right. Cool. So, Christian, you back? You ready to go? You look enthralled with what we're doing here?
Yeah.
All right.
Did you hear when you said dark artsy before, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Yeah. That was intentional. That wasn't like a mistake, like unfortunate.
Unfortunate.
It's unfortunate paper.
All right.
Dark artsy. All right. I'll write that down. Babe? Okay.
Come on, babe. Come on, babe.
Welcome back, everyone. Switching gears here a little bit and moving across the Atlantic over to this side of the world. Brian, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about just soccer in the United States, and specifically kind of MLS and how youth players kind of get up and into the MLS system and how it differs from Europe. So I want to give you the floor, kind of, can you give us your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, the way the system works in MLS is you gotta pay to play, and I think that I mean, of course, in terms of politics, we're a capitalist country. Um, it differs from Europe, but I believe it's not the right thing to do if you want, future USA star players to come up, have your future Pulisic's, your future Messi's, or whatever. Uh, as in Europe, those who have gone to Europe have found success. In terms of the recently player that's been called up, I think his name is Keenan Parks, if I'm getting the first name wrong, but his last name is Parks.
I think it's Keaton.
Yeah, Keaton. So he went to Portugal in his one of his last years in high school, and so they saw him play over there. They offered him a contract. I mean, it wasn't Benfica first. It was more of an amateur team, I believe. And so he found success there. Benfica ended up signing him, and now he's been playing a couple of times, and he's been on the bench most of the time, but he is striving for minutes. So there's a success story there. There's a success story with Tim Howard of how he came up, where there's a, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, lost. Well, yeah, he came up and he was in Manchester for a while before he went to Everton. And there's an article, New York Times, where it says about players going to Europe, and the difference in Europe. Parents pay nothing except a nominal insurance of 12 euros a year, and the club covers the rest. Promising young players outside the Ajax catchment area usually attend academies run by other Dutch professional clubs, where the training is also free, as it is in much of the rest of the soccer playing world for youth's pro potential. So that says basically a lot of what Europe does for their players than what MLS does here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so MLS so in fairness to them, I think they are trying to help with the pay to play model. So the pay to play model, for anyone who doesn't know, and we talked about it on past podcasts, but soccer in this country, a lot of times parents and families need to pay to play on different teams, youth teams. And so there's a lot of different reasons for that. But one of the main ones is that we don't have solidarity payments and training compensation. And so, I'm not going to get too far into that, but just wanted to throw those buzzwords out. You can research them yourselves. MLS does. I think DC United is the only academy that does require people to pay anymore, but we only have 23 teams in MLS, and we're a country incredibly sprawled and spread out. And so the rest of the youth academy system requires people to pay. And so that's what Bryan's kind of talking about here. Christian, I don't know if you have thoughts on what he's talking about. And also, we will link to, there was a really interesting article on Keaton Parks in The Athletic that we'll link to. I read that yesterday, and that talks about a lot of what Bryan was talking about. So Christian, your thoughts on what he was talking about?
Yeah, I mean, we've hammered this home before, but I think it's absurd how much money people have to invest just to play soccer in this country. It's similar with lacrosse and a lot of the sports that you see. It's ridiculous to me. I think with lacrosse, at least, there's all the equipment and stuff you have to buy. Soccer is just cleats and shin guards pretty much, and then everything else is usually provided by a club. I think the solidarity and training compensation payments are going to go a very, very long way once we get that up and running in this country. And New England is the first one to really incorporate it, correct?
Yeah, and they're not calling it that because apparently there are child labor laws or things that basically U.S. soccer has argued training compensation and solidarity can't be implemented here, but New England is doing some sort of scholarship type program. So it's not technically training compensation and solidarity payments.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, they're not really being paid to play, so I don't know how that's illegal and child labor. But regardless, I think that we need to start adopting a European model if we ever want to invest in this country. I think that we have so many players, so much youth with talent. Look at all the sports that we have. There's so many great athletes in this country. If we can just convert some of those players going to the NFL, going to NBA, it would be insane for our advancement. And I know that it's way long term and that I don't know, but we have to be able to provide them with money. Like I think that it really comes down to all the money is in the other sports, and we have to be able to get them trained, get them playing at a young age for not pay to play, for very low cost, something like the insurance that Europe does. And that will get those players playing soccer young. It will get them getting the technical training when they're young, and it could go a long way.
Yeah, but I think I don't remember the exact numbers, but I want to say U.S. soccer has either the most or one of the top 5 most youth players playing soccer in the world. So I don't think this is a case of we need to attract more players into the game. I think this is a case where we need to have better development systems and more incentive for the players that are already in our academies. And so our academy system, I mean, really U.S. soccer implemented it in the 2006-2007 season. So it is 12 years old at this point, like a formal academy system. And so these other countries have over 100 years in some cases head start. And so I think with this, it's just more formalizing things. And yeah, obviously it would be better if we can attract more players into it, but I don't think that's the silver bullet. Matt, sorry, I wanted to get your thoughts here. I know you haven't given any thoughts yet.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the whole youth system, I think, is like where everything's going wrong in this country. Even like over the last transition period,
those youths.
Yeah. Like Dave, when you were playing, academies, were academies even around when you were in high school?
Nope. No. My senior year was when it started.
Yeah. So then like the whole like models, like you have to go to those top club teams to like get noticed, and then from there you kind of either go to college, you pretty much just go to college.
Yep.
And then now like when I came up through high school, like I went up like through like those like top club teams, and then when I get to college, they're like, oh, you had to play academy. And then it's just like there's just like huge disconnect from like what is required, and like it's like the Division I coaches don't even like consider you if you weren't in an academy system. They won't come to your games. It's just like, oh, and because like the academies cost so much money, it's basically pay to play. And like there's kids that have kind of like started right when the academies started up, that started paying, and then they were in the system, and it's just like kids that aren't even that great, that know how to play one position, are basically just playing Division I soccer. Then from there, it's just like how you always say, like they create robots and they don't know how to like play soccer.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think this is a microcosm of just all of the problems wrong with soccer in this country. And, you know, I've talked about it many times in how fans of soccer in this country, there are tens of millions of soccer fans in this country, but there are fans of League MX, there are fans of Premier League, there are fans of MLS, and it's so fractured. And it's the same thing happening at the youth level. There are academy programs. There are people that don't want to do academy and do pay to play. There are people that don't want to pay anything and do rec or just play pickup. And there's not this unified system that there is everywhere else in the world that, you know, is just, you know, everybody working towards kind of the same thing. And so that's probably the most frustrating thing for me. Brian, wanted to circle back with you. Any thoughts on anything we've said?
Yeah, just like your last point, where we all follow different leagues, especially people that I've known throughout the years. They followed mostly Liga MX, and I think we've done a good job of breaking that percentage where more people are coming into MLS, especially with the new upcoming expansion teams. So like this year with LAFC, I had people who were who follow the Liga MX but are not intrigued with LAFC, and then they're also Chiva USA fans. And yeah, I think we just have to find a way to make the league more attractive.
Absolutely. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Let's talk about something else kind of related to all of this, at least in a tangential way. Ernie Stewart is rumored to be favored to take over the U.S. general manager position. So this was a position created by new U.S. soccer president Carlos Cordero to kind of oversee the soccer operations in U.S. soccer. Right now, it's basically like he's going to hire the U.S. manager, and that seems like his only responsibility. Christian, your thoughts on Ernie Stewart possibly leaving the union and joining U.S. soccer? Do you think this is a good hire? What do you think?
I think it is a very good hire, and I think it's going to be very unfortunate for the union. But everything's unfortunate for the union. So what's the difference now? I think that U.S. soccer needs someone like him in there, kind of calling the shots and running a lot of the soccer operations behind the scene. I don't think he's a manager type player or person, so it makes sense that he's going into a GM type of position and running more operations, not the actual team and tactics. But he's very, very, very good at what he does, at running the business of soccer and attracting a lot of good, talented young players we've seen over the years. And I hope he's going to be successful, but it's going to hurt for the union to watch him go.
Matt, thoughts on Stewart?
What good has he done for the union? Like we were talking last time, it was we all said the Red Bulls guy seemed like the better fit for that position at the time. So what? Or I thought that's what we were.
I don't know if I
them to get the Red Bulls guy so that he doesn't leave.
No, but Matt brings up a good point. I mean, Stewart hasn't had the biggest track record of success with the union. I think a lot of this is based on his reputation with what he did in the Netherlands I think he was with NEC Breda and AZ Alkmaar. I may have those teams wrong, but I think that's where he was before. What's that? Say again?
I thought he worked with Ajax.
No, he 100% was not with Ajax.
Okay.
Matt, do you have other thoughts?
Oh, well, I thought you were answering the question. You stopped answering. It was just what good has he necessarily done? What would the GM, other than you said his only responsibility is hiring the manager? So what's the risk of hiring anybody for this position?
Well, I mean, if he's going to be responsible for appointing the manager and implementing kind of a philosophy, I'm sure he's going to also be in charge of player recruitment. So, I mean, the fact that he has a lot of connections in Europe, he's got connections throughout the U.S. national team because he was somewhat of a legendary player. I think that is going to be another part of this. Will be also recruitment. I mean, we've lost dual nationals to other countries in recent years, and there's always a fight just with how the world is nowadays with, it's much more flat and globalized that players can play for multiple countries. And so having a guy like Ernie might help with that.
Yeah, we had, I was seeing on Twitter a couple of days ago, there's the kid on the LAFC too.
Yeah. Yeah. He's killing it. He's 15 years old and crushing it.
But he's already, I think he's declaring for Mexico.
Yep.
That's unfortunate. But Jurgen was the one getting all those players. I feel like he was calling everybody instead of the GM. So now are they getting rid of that responsibility for the coach and putting it on the GM, or are you just doing that?
Yeah, Jurgen had a ton of power and responsibility that was never given to a U.S. manager in the past. Jurgen basically functioned as a technical director, coach, and this position is newly created, but a lot of the responsibilities are with him. Now what we're trying to do is sort of break that up and not give too much power to one person. Really, it probably would have been better for U.S. Soccer to hire Jurgen as a general manager and then have somebody else implement his philosophy because he was much more philosophical. So that's kind of the thoughts.
I think on that, I think it's going to add a lot more consistency when there is management change because it's not just one person in control of everything. If there's people below him or working side by side with him, when there is a manager change, that's just one piece and the other people will be able to keep doing what they're doing.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, Brian wanted to bring you in here. Sorry, it's been a while before we got your thoughts. What do you think about Ernie Stewart?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know much about him, and you guys cleared it up for me a bit. I think it's a good thing to have someone on top of the technical manager, as in looking for players to recruit. And like you guys said, he was a former Netherlands player in the Netherlands league. And he's shown what he's done, and I believe if he is to become the general manager, he can bring a lot of youth from Europe and convince them to play here. And just I think back with the Liga MX, back with the Mexico team, we lost two players that could have been key for us, and that's Los Galaxy. LA Galaxy's DOS team player Efrain Alvarez, the 15-year-old.
Yep.
He recently has been recruited by the U17 of Mexico, and just last year, where it was all this buzz about, I think his name is Jonathan
Gonzalez.
Yeah, Jonathan Gonzalez. We lost him too, so prospects that could have been, and I think he'll do a good job about that.
Yep, that's the hope.
Also, maybe if he's gonna become general manager, we should look to get Tata Martino as our coach.
That'd be great. Yeah, I heard that. I heard Juan Carlos Osorio is apparently the other guy that's rumored to be a target, and so obviously those are just rumors. I mean, Ernie is incredibly tight-lipped when it comes to any sort of news breaking. Just speaking as a Union fan, we get very little kind of rumors and news. So I would be surprised if anything being said right now was related to who he actually wants. But we'll definitely be following that whole thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say, do you like when you're yeah. Hopefully it's not Jim Curtin.
Yeah, it will not be Jim Curtin. I can 100% guarantee that.
Do you like when your general man or your team is kind of closed lip or keeps the door shut on what they're doing behind the scenes, or would you rather how we talked about how City puts their transfer targets all their rumors kind of on their official Twitter account? Would you rather us be open about who we want as coach, or just be secretive about it?
As a fan, yeah, I want them to be open as possible because I want to consume that content and have something to talk about and all of that. But if I am running a business, I think it hurts your negotiating position to put all of your stuff out there. So I get it. I get both sides of the coin. But as a fan, yeah, I would want it out there. Brian, what do you think?
For that, yeah, I think transparency is key, especially now with what happened last fall. I think it's a matter of knowing what the U.S. is doing with the team and with the future.
Okay, Christian, last thoughts here, real quick.
It helps you get excited, I think, as a fan, and it really builds an atmosphere and just general expectation. But I think that can hurt both fans and the business side of things, because if they don't get them, then everyone's going to feel extremely let down, and then they will doubt things are true in the future, and that'll just kind of spiral. But I think it's good to give some information, not be completely tight-lipped, but I don't think you should reveal all your cards, obviously.
All right, cool. So that brings us to the end of our second segment. You're going to hear a little bit more music, and then we're going to talk to you in our third and final segment. All right, cool. Running a little bit long here. So in this section, we're going to talk U.S. versus Bolivia later today and PSG sanctions. So let's try to keep it a little bit quicker. See if we can get through this quickly. Does that work? And then we'll talk about Mark's question to everybody. See EFL playoffs to American fans.
Okay, we're gonna do quick, right? We're doing quick answers.
Yeah. Do rapid fire. All right. So we'll go to. I'll go to you guys first. I'll go to Matt first because I feel like you'll have something just incredibly insightful to say.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Matt, do you know the U.S. play today?
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone, to our third and final segment. Let's talk about the U.S. men's national team versus Bolivia friendly. It's taking place later today. Today is Monday, May 28th. Happy Memorial Day to everybody. Sorry we skipped over that, but hope everybody is having a good Memorial Day. Thank you all for people who have served. But U.S. is playing Bolivia in a somewhat meaningless friendly, but it's going to be in Philadelphia. Matt, your thoughts on this match, maybe the roster or just general thoughts on this friendly? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I love the players that we brought in, the youth movement. I think it's awesome. I think it's so exciting for the players to be playing and getting together as we kind of plan for 4 years from now. I guess that's what we have to look forward to at this point. So this group that we brought in, I love so much. These are the guys that I think at the moment that you're looking at right now are going to be the guys in 4 years. So even though there's still a lot of them are just prospects and you don't know how good they're actually going to be, I think it's good getting them to play together, get that chemistry going. And I think and bringing Pulisic in with everyone else, who's a lot of the first time people in the national camp, the first team national camp. I think it's great.
You're a first timer over here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's just going to be exciting to watch this group of young kids that are playing like all around the world, which is something that you don't really see from the U.S. teams in the past.
Christian, thoughts on the roster?
I really, really like it. I love that the kid's coming home, coming to Philadelphia. We're gonna see Pulisic back representing in our state. I'm very excited, and just so everybody knows, I will be there today, and I'm very excited about going. But I think with a lot of these youth players, Cameron Carter-Vickers, players like that actually represent in the Premier League, McKinney from the Bundesliga, there's a lot of young talent that we really haven't seen in a while. It's Matt Miazga is another one. A lot of players who we've heard about but not really seen to play at the national level, and we've barely seen them really play much at the upper levels in the club scene, which they've been recruited to represent their teams there, but they keep getting loaned out or just pushed down the pecking order. It's going to be interesting to see how they respond, how the training over there has been helping them, and how just their experience they've been getting in Europe is going to show on the field with the other players who are playing at that level over there.
Bryan, your thoughts on the game and the roster?
Yeah, I also hope to see all these new young players have their first cap for the USA. I really want to see Tim Weah. He's George Weah's son, and he came up from PSG's academy, and recently in this last couple of months, he had a few minutes for PSG, and then the last game, he actually started. So I hope he becomes our future striker, and yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely someone I'm excited to see. And, I don't have too much else to add beyond that. I mean, I'm just excited. I mean, Bolivia, I think if this is the team that I'm thinking of, I think they're incredibly physical and don't necessarily play the prettiest soccer. And so hopefully it doesn't become just a physical affair and just devolve into just kind of like kicking and running and just physical. So hopefully the players can actually play. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, yes, it's a meaningless friendly, but anytime you get a bunch of young, promising players out there, I'm excited to watch them. So, I'm really pumped about this. Christian, something else to add?
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Julian Green comes back into the team. He's been gone for such a long time. Lyndon Gooch is another one who's been playing. I'm a little sad Zach Steffen's not part of this roster. I think it'd have been cool to see him back in Philadelphia. He's from the area, and he was part of the Union Academy. It would have been nice to see him back playing in that stadium, which he never got to play in because the Union are dumb in the way they run their business. But he's a very, very, very good goalkeeper, and I think he is the future there. I watched him yesterday, and again, they were down a man. Should have been down two men, but he stood up and played his heart out again.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll definitely be watching that. Last topic we wanted to talk about here real quick. Bryan is a PSG fan, and, just given their splashes in the transfer market in recent years, but specifically last summer, we found this article, and yeah, it's not the most reputable of sources, but, it's rumored that PSG may be having financial fair play sanctions, and they may, have to have some restrictions in the transfer market. We can put that to a side, or if you want to talk about that, we can, but more just PSG's general maybe transfer strategy and maybe your expectations as a fan. Bryan, can you just give us some of your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'll be sanctioned. They'll sell some players just to compensate, and the way their transfers have gone throughout the years, I believe in my opinion, they messed up with getting Neymar. They could have bought another 11 players with that money. Just in the case how they brought Verratti and Matuidi, they brought up players from the academy. I think they should have stuck with that instead of trying to excel their chances of winning the Champions League. So that's pretty much what I think PSG should keep doing. Other than that, if they keep buying star players, I think they'll have a downfall, a real harsh downfall.
Okay. Fair enough. What do you think about Tuchel as the coach? Do you like him as an appointment?
Tuchel, yeah, he's ex Borussia Dortmund, and he liked to play good football. I believe he brought up Pulisic, if I'm wrong. I think it was Klopp, possibly one or the other.
Tuchel gave him his debut. Klopp signed him to the academy, but Tuchel gave him his debut.
Yeah, so he's a player, a coach known to bring up youth. So I hope he brings that into PSG. And he also said he's not scared of stars. So I hope that's a wake up call for Neymar.
Yeah. It won't be.
Yeah, pretty much.
Christian, your thoughts on PSG and everything?
I think they're going to get away and they're not going to be sanctioned, but I think something's got to happen because the way they're spending money just to buy star players, it's already causing them internal issues with players butting heads because they all want to be the star. But I think that they have to do something. UEFA does, because it's getting a little ridiculous, the amount of money, not just them, but other clubs are spending over and over again. And they're spending almost as much on one player as entire teams are spending in a summer. And that's already too much that's being spent.
Yeah, but there's a food chain on everything. So, I mean, I think some teams are spending more in one summer than Ajax has spent in their entire history, right? There's always like a food chain element of, you're going to have some teams spend more, some teams spend less. But Matt, your thoughts here on PSG?
Yeah, the way like their owner was talking, was it the owner or their like head of
Al Khalifa or something?
Khalafi?
Like
Yeah.
He seems like nothing they did was illegal, and he's like being like pretty open about it. So I don't think they are going to get sanctioned. What I think is going to happen, like I said to you guys yesterday, I think Neymar and Ronaldo are going to swap this summer with the money, because like Neymar, I mean, what's it called? Neymar seems like he wants to be out. Ronaldo definitely seems like he wants to be out of Madrid now. After like that was the weirdest interview I have ever seen.
Also, Bale.
What'd you say?
Oh, also,
yeah,
Gareth Bale.
I see Bale going back to the Premier League rather than PSG, where I feel like Ronaldo could be a star in France and Paris and like really use that stage. Yeah, use that stage in Paris. He's like real big into fashion, to really like boost himself. So I think that would be like, it would make a lot of sense for Ronaldo to go to Paris, and I think Neymar to go to Madrid.
Bryan, what would be your thoughts on if that happened?
Yeah, I kind of see it because where else are they gonna go? These star players, like, is Neymar going back to Barca? I don't think so. Madrid are like the closest option for him, and for Cristiano, it's either him and Bale go back to Man U, or Cristiano goes to PSG, which it looks like will happen maybe, and Bale going to Man United. So yeah, but I think again, the way they're going with these things, with buying these star players, it's a bad business.
Yeah, after last summer, I'm not gonna. I mean, anything could happen. I would be incredibly surprised if Ronaldo and Neymar swapped. But I mean, after last summer, I don't know. I think anything could happen. So, but that brings us to the end of our normal topics. Bryan, anything else you wanted to mention on this topic or anything else?
No, I have. No.
Okay, Christian. Yeah, Christian. Matt.
Nah.
Okay, before we get to our listener questions, wanted to give a couple quick plugs. So I am the founder of a fantasy soccer platform called Fan Futsal. It's simplified fantasy soccer. We make it easier for all soccer fans to play. So we have you select 5 teams instead of 8 to 11 individual players, and all the scoring is simplified. We have Liga MX, MLS, and the big 5 leagues in Europe. So even though it's the summertime, we still have MLS going on. And when Liga MX starts up in July, we'll have that on there. So please go check that out. FANFUTSAL.com. Additionally, I have a Soccer Tavern YouTube channel. It's called The Soccer Tavern, where we're making videos about the history, culture, and philosophy of the beautiful game. Right now, I'm releasing videos about national teams and their history. So today, my Group C videos are coming out. France, Australia, Peru, and Denmark. Again, it's not really too much of a focus on the World Cup. It's more about their history. So we're talking about why their crest looks the way that it does, some of their noteworthy players, their history on winning tournaments, and so on and so forth. So please go check them out. That would mean a lot to me. We just have one listener question, and we'll link to that in the in the podcast show notes, or you can search the Soccer Tavern on YouTube. One listener question for us this week, at Game Day Tourist, who's Mark Lawson. He's going to be on actually next week with us, but he asked, how important are the EFL playoffs, so which is the English Football League playoffs, or just the EFL in general to American soccer fans? So Bryan, I don't know if you follow kind of the lower leagues in England and have thoughts on this question.
I haven't kept up with them that much, but I think maybe of those not really familiar with MLS, who like the Premier League and then look at the lower league, they'll see. I think they'll see that the MLS is kind of a similarity to them, or it's going to that level, or because I think MLS is not at that level yet. Of even though it's championship, it's still considered it's still difficult to play in. Yeah.
The level of play in that league is probably pretty comparable to MLS.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a fair point. Christian, I don't know if you have thoughts on either level of play or just, fans following those leagues. What do you think?
I just wanted to first say I didn't know you founded fans. That was a pretty cool fact that you gave us earlier. I think that. Oh man, I forgot my point. Damn.
Yeah, you're so focused on trying to make fun of me.
I think it's awesome over there the way that they do it, and I really do love their playoff structure. I think that the top two, they absolutely deserve to go up, but having those next 4 teams, especially when it's close, it comes down to the last week. You never know who's going to be in there. I think it's awesome that they do 4-team playoff. The winner gets that final spot, and that is the most. What is that? The most expensive or the richest?
I think it's the richest game in football.
It's awesome, and because if you win that championship playoff final, it's worth hundreds of millions of dollars that you're going to get in revenue over the next year in the Premier League. It's insane how much money that they get between the two, and honestly, the level of play is really enjoyable to watch. I don't know if you guys watched that Fulham Aston Villa game, but those are 2 powerhouse teams from the past in the Premier League. Well, I don't know about powerhouse, but pretty mid-table competitive types of teams that were in the Premier League not that long ago. And to see them playing against each other for that spot, to get back in the limelight, to get back into what people are going to be watching every week, really, you could see that they were desperate to do it.
Matt, your thoughts on just the EFL and playoffs in general?
Yeah, so I think that sorry, Christians. So sorry. I think the level is like you guys were saying earlier. It's like comparable to the MLS. It's good, maybe even a little bit better because of the atmosphere and maybe maybe just like the speed of play, but
better.
No, but
I think it's probably similar.
MLS this year has been like the first time I noticed oh wow, that they actually can knock the ball around a little bit, and it's not what it used to be even 5 years ago. And I think even this year is like the first year I'm taking notice where the MLS is playing real well. But the championship over there, I don't follow it too closely. I'll check maybe twice a month just to check the table and be like, oh, who are the teams that could potentially come up? Because there's no real TV coverage of it over here. It's so hard to really follow it and care about it if you don't support a team that's in the championship. So that's where I think the disconnect is. So we don't, in America, at least even in my friend group, we don't follow it too closely. But I'll check in just as a soccer fan because I care about the Premier League. So I'll just check in oh, who could potentially be up next year.
Yeah, and I think that's the majority of the way American fans, at least people really into soccer, kind of follow that league. Christian?
I think it's really important that there is a little bit of coverage of the championship at least, and the playoffs specifically. For a lot of those fans who are fans of the lower level or mid-level Premier League teams over here, that when their team does get relegated, they do have an ability to watch them the next year, and I think it's important that we still have that access.
Yeah, and I think ESPN Plus covers that.
Yes, it does now. Yeah.
Bryan, anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, back to Christian's point. Once we have relegation, we'll be sad to see Galaxy go.
The Union will be probably releasing quicker. Will be relegated quicker, I should say. Christian, do you want to recap our trivia question, please?
Yeah. Do you guys know the first African team to win a World Cup game, what year it was, what the score was, and who they were playing against?
Okay, Brian, do you want to give your guess? Or do you want us to go first? We can go first.
Yeah, you can go first.
All right. Matt, do you want to give your guess?
I'm going to say like Cameroon in 1950 something, 54. Maybe?
That was one of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Tunisia, 1978, and I don't know who they were playing though. I'm gonna say Denmark. I'll just throw that out there. Brian, do you have?
Wait, did anyone give me a score?
Okay.
2-1.
Yeah, I'll say 3-2.
Okay.
Brian, do you want to give a guess?
Yeah, 1986, Cameroon. I don't know. Maybe against France. I don't know.
Right. Okay, Dave was right on the year on the team. So it was Tunisia in 1978 against Mexico, 3-1.
Oh, damn! It was Mexico. All right. So as I'm doing my research for my YouTube videos, that is going to be my fact for Tunisia. So I actually already had that one known. Yeah.
I'm so glad. I can't wait for your video.
Yeah. So a little teaser there. But with that brings us to the end of our podcast. Hey, if you like what we're doing here, it would really mean a lot to us if you left a review on whatever podcasting platform that you listen to us on. Again, that would be really, really helpful for us. We'll link to all the stories that we discussed here in our podcast show notes. We'll also tweet them out from our Bros Talking Soccer Twitter handle, which is @BTSoccerPod. If you want to get in contact with us, our email is bros.talking.soccer@gmail.com. We have a website, brostalkingsoccerpodcast.com. Go check that out, please. And that brings us to the end of another episode. Brian, thank you so much for joining us this week. Again, can you just remind people where to find you on Twitter? And we'll link to your Medium to your Medium link in our show notes.
Yeah. My Twitter handle is @official Hernandez. Hernandez without the vowels. Also, my Medium. You could just put my same Twitter handle on the search bar, and I'll come out. Or if not, just search Bryan Hernandez on Medium, and just check out my recent article on the Champions League review. Yeah,
absolutely. We'll link to that as well in our show notes. So be sure to go check that out. And thank you so much for being here, Christian and Matt. Thank you guys for being here. Christian, enjoy the U.S. game today. Matt, enjoy your trip back to Penn State.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Listeners, thank you for being here, and we will talk to you all next week. See you, everybody.
Bye.
All right, cool. Well, thank you. Anyone who's still watching on YouTube, thanks for being here. We're going to cut the broadcast off. Damn it. Almost made it. Without. Damn it. Cut the broadcast off here. Talk to you next week. See you, everyone.